Hey, oh, hey, it's on. Yes, come here, buddy. Come here, buddy. We're on. We're on the internet. Yeah, it's time. It's time, buddy. It's time. It's time to do another domain camp intro video. And I'm just going to make sure I get my tweet out. Most likely, exactly. Most likely, nobody's watching. Oh, one person's watching. Hello, one person. Glad to have you here. I'm Alan Levine, and I'm coming to you from the apparently the kitchen of Ontario Extend Domain Camp. There's sunshine out there. Looking for campers. See one camper. Might have to flip a coin, a toonie, so to decide if I should stay inside or go outside. This is the end of sort of the run for Domain Camp, but all the stuff will stay there. I know a lot of people have been busy or haven't had enough time to really dive into all the materials, but go back at your leisure. And the most important thing that I suggest going forward is to use that community in Reclaim Hosting to ask questions, to answer questions, and to hang out. That's what communities do. So we've been, for the last couple weeks, I'm not going to recap because I think my one viewer knows what we've been doing. But I decided to kind of try to tailor the last few weeks beyond stuff we did in the beginning with getting set up with your domain to focus a little bit more on a WordPress, because that is the thing that people use the most. And you know, once you like get inside and look at that dashboard and all the stuff there, it can get overwhelming, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. And you know, my advice is to just continually experiment and just accept that it's going to take a while to get versatile in it. You know, I think it took me years, but WordPress has got a lot better, and maybe you're a lot smarter, and you have a domain camp. And so, but like camping, like anything that you really want to get good at, it takes some time to get proficient. So the stuff on tap for this week, and they're really hard to encapsulate in single activities, so they're more to kind of get you started looking in, is to talk a little bit about themes, which is usually where people start at. They want to like make their blog pretty, which is understandable, and some of the perils and pitfalls of picking out themes. We'll talk a little bit about widgets, which are, well, I'll explain what they are, but they're another way you can sort of customize and add functionality to your WordPress site. And there's more widgets that you have available as a hosted version of WordPress that you get on WordPress.com. They kind of limit you in this box. You're in this box at WordPress.com. You can't get out of their box. And then they keep trying to sell you stuff. God, oh, sorry, I ran there. And then I will introduce you to a long series of activities that can help you get set up if you want to set up what's known as a syndication hub. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a demo, but pretty much I'm going to run through rather quickly, and I won't hit on everything, but I'm just going to talk through some of the stuff that we've set up this week. So my one camper, come on along here. Let me just see if I can find the right window to share. And how come I'm not? Let's see. Okay. You know, sometimes it's just hard to share your window. And so here we go. Come back again. One more try. A little bit of a malfunction in the share the application window. There we go. Get over to my other browser. So we're looking at week 7 here. Theme picking, widgets, and blah, 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 blah. Always the recap. What we're doing this week, obviously, right now, my one person is watching this demo video. Always archived. You can watch later. If you're really, really bored and can't find anything on Netflix, you have to be really bad to watch this. 3 different activities that I've set up for you. Tomorrow I will do the drop-in office hours. I'm kind of bailing on the Thursday thing. No one shows up for that. But what I did add this week, if people want to, you know, I will schedule like a time slot with you if you fill out a form or contact me. And we can just come on in a Zoom session, and you can screen share, and we can sort of talk. We can look over your blog, and I can try to make suggestions. Think of it as like, taking your car in to your favorite mechanic, and hopefully they don't tell you that you need a $3,000 brake job. So that's just what's on Corner this week. Again, I'm going to make a push for using the Newbies Corner. There has been some activity in here. And this week I'm also, because we're talking about themes, I've asked people who are experienced or use WordPress already just to share what theme they're using, because as you're going to hear me say, theme picking is, and my friend Tom agreed with me, he almost hates it. And on one hand, it's a thing that really drives people, is to like get the blog looking as good as possible. But the process of finding a good theme is often more overwhelming than anything. So that's where I'm going to start. So I've got this WordPress site that I set up that hasn't been, I think I just set up as a demo of something that's basically the 2017 theme. This is the default theme that comes with WordPress. And it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with sticking it. So I have 3 posts in here. I just made sure they all had featured images for reasons that we'll see later. And you can just do this. And generally, when I'm starting off with new students or people new to WordPress, I try, and often fail, to tell them, don't start by fiddling with the themes, because you don't even understand WordPress, how posts work, what menus are, what plugins are. And the first thing that people do is try to pick a theme. And so the thing about WordPress is you can go weeks, months, years using this default theme. What matters more is that you're creating content, you're categorizing it, you're organizing it, and you're getting better and better at writing in the WordPress environment. You can change a theme at any time, and you never lose any content. That's the beauty. Like, here's all your content. Oh, I'm gesturing with my hands, you can't see. It's in a database over on the right side, and over on the left is all the things that make it look pretty. So if you're brand new to WordPress, I would say focus on the blogging and the writing and using media and linking and that part. And then later, when you're ready for it, and you've been spending some time looking at other websites, you might want to just sort of start figuring out, what sort of look or design or what metaphor works for your blog. And, as you're looking at other people's blogs and websites, first of all, try to figure it out if they're WordPress, and there are ways to do that. That's in this week's activity. You can even find out what theme they're using. Which if you see a WordPress site that you really like and you say, oh, I really want that theme, there's some website tools that supposedly help you do it. I don't have good luck with them. There's a way you can peek at the source code and actually find the name of the theme and look it up. And you can find out if it's one you have to pay for, or whether it's a free one, or whether it's one they've done custom. But just in general, looking at other people's sites and sort of getting a sense of, wow, I like the way they have a big banner image at the top. Or no, I hate those banner images. I like the way that it's got lots of links on the right side. No, I hate that. So look for things in other people's blog that you'd like to have in your own. That's an important starting point for a theme. So again, we're going to go in now. And I have my WordPress theme here. And the way you get to your themes are under Appearance and Themes. And, chances are this. Themes are installed. So these are the ones that Reclaim Hosting kind of sets up for you at default. These are the standard ones that WordPress actually creates. 2016, 2015, 2017. I don't know. They've been busy. They haven't done a 2018. So we're still in 2017 on theme land. But themes need to be installed. So what you want to do is add a new theme. And you can do it with that button, or there's another Add Theme button at the top. So when you come in here, there's 15 featured ones. I don't know how they define this. I think WordPress picks out kind of a variety of ones. Here's one that looks like a store. Here's one that looks excellent. Saka looks kind of plain. And you might find one there that you like. You can go into the popular themes. If you want to be popular, somehow the WordPress themes are pretty popular. I was kind of interested in this one, this stout one. And then when you're in this theme kind of preview, you get a small kind of screenshot about what it looks like. You can actually pull it up. and you can sort of see perhaps what it looks like. And it doesn't look, and here's the thing about these previews. They're using like a standard set of WordPress content, and they don't always work well in the theme. So don't judge the theme fully by this. But I look at this one, I kind of like the colors. The fonts are kind of like bold and modern. It's got a kind of a modern looking menu. And then I'm looking, styled as a primer child theme with a masculine vibe. It's like, dude, last thing I want is a theme with a masculine vibe. So I'm going to skip that. So I'm theme shopping. You can look at newer themes. See if there's one in here that might work for you. And again, you should be thinking all the time, what is there something about this theme that really works for you? And so there's these kind, I imagine, that kind of have a nice big image at the top. It looks like a social media sort of stream. And then looks like your posts come in. Doesn't really use featured images. I'm not crazy about that one. I'm kind of big. There's a portfolio theme that might be nice. So I'm going to quickly try to find one theme that might work. The last thing that's worth doing is this feature filter. So you can sort of get a sense. You can see, wow, I can just look at themes that are education. They're not really that good. I might look at ones that are kind of more like for a portfolio. And you don't have to collect the lights. I want to have ones that has featured images. I like one column theme. No, how about a grid layout theme? No, one column theme is pretty good. That means the content fills out. So you can sort of apply these filters and get a smaller number of themes because there's like, you know, thousands of them here. So, you know, I'm going to look at this one. And maybe, see, I'm even having trouble picking one to play with here. And so a lot of these are kind of like landing page type themes, which are okay. A lot of them kind of look the same to me. So maybe this news one, let's look at this one. So, so it's kind of, it looks like it has some kind of banner image thing on the top. And some of these other things found, well, that's kind of interesting. So maybe I don't want that one. I'm going to go for one that I know. Here's the other thing. As you're looking at themes, you might find there's a certain company or person that makes them. And there's this guy, Norway or Finland, Anders Norn, and I just really like his themes. They're not complex. They're elegant. They work well on all devices. I've not done this Hitchcock one, so I'm going to try this one. Minimal portfolio theme works for responsive design. So that one looks pretty good. So once I find one I want to try, I'm just going to install it. And it's going to move all these files for the theme. It's going to put it into my WordPress site. And then I'm going to activate it, which means it actually just made this theme active on my site. And so like, oh my God, did I break everything? Well, I come over, Fun at Domain Camp, and look, this one's not bad. So this one just has the featured images for my post with no text. And if you roll over, you can sort of see the text for the post. So that's one thing. And the other thing with themes is a lot of times the front page looks pretty. The real question is like, what does the interior page look like? So nice, it's got a big featured image. This one has kind of like a narrow column, which kind of works for me. You know, you might want a wider, you know, looking page thing. It's elegant. And then it's got more, you know, other posts at the bottom. And so this is pretty good to me. And so what I want to start doing with is what else can I do to this theme? Now, a lot of themes have features that you can get at and adjust in this thing called the customizer. And so the great thing about the customizer is that as you make changes to the theme, you actually see it happening on your right-hand side. So site identity, I can put a retina logo. I have no idea what that is, but I can actually change you know, this title, and I could say what I did at Domain Camp. And so when I type that, well, it should change it, but sometimes it doesn't do all the updates. But believe me, that change should happen. So that's the thing with these themes. Sometimes you don't really know what's going to happen. So one of the things with that Hitchcock theme, I wasn't at the home page, so I'm going to get back to that home page. Remember that it doesn't show the titles until I roll over. That doesn't actually work well for mobile devices. So you can actually show the titles so they're always on screen. I like that better. So I make that change. Header image. This has this kind of mountain as the background. I'm going to add maybe a new image. Maybe I'll add my dog paws. And so this image, generally I have to crop it to fit. Now I have this one in the background of my site here. The great thing about these images is I can add another image. So maybe I'll use this mountain scene of my own. And so I'm going to add this one. You can upload new ones. And so what happens is there's this option called randomized uploaded headings. And I love this because this means whenever you come to this site, it'll pick one of those images at random. And you can have, I've got some sites with 20 different images. So I like randomness in my sites. So the great thing about the customize, you can see now that the title actually did change, is that if you go through this and you make so many changes that it looks horrible, you can just click the X and it won't save any changes. But I'm pretty happy with this. So I'm going to click publish. And now when I close, I'll see now that I've changed this, and we'll see how well my random thing does. When you only have two things random, it doesn't really help as well. But eventually, if I click this enough times, there we go. So if you want random, maybe you should have 10 or so. So that's theme picking. And in the beginning, I would say just try a couple to experiment with, because it's really hard. And again, you're not really locked in to anything with the theme picking. There is one subtle thing about changing a theme that's worth knowing. So we did learn about menus recently. And so I do have a, let's see, do I have a menu? No, I didn't create a menu for the site. Sometimes it doesn't remember your menu. So I'm going to call this menu, I'll call it cool menu. Forgot this set up in time. And so again, menus, I can add pages. I can add really great blog categories like uncategorized. And I can add custom links. So I'm going to send customlabs.ca. I'm going to send it to, I'm going to put an extend labs thing up here. I'm going to move that to the top. And so I save my menu, and now hopefully you'll see that I have sort of a better menu system. No, I didn't. I did something wrong. This happens so often. Happened to Nurse Killian recently. Creating the menu doesn't do anything until I tell it where to add my menu. So primary menu for this theme is that top menu. And so that can really fool you. And so if your menus don't change, it's because you didn't associate it anywhere. So, here we have this really great about page, which I could use better. But, actually, I think this is, oops, I followed my link there. This is quite a nice, simple theme. I can see using it for a portfolio. I could see using it maybe for maybe a class where we're going to talk about syndication next. It could be a site I use maybe just as sort of an overview of my photos. So that's the theme picking game. And that was like a really brief bit of the theme picking game. What we're next going to talk about these things called widgets. And so this theme might possibly not even, this theme doesn't have any widgets, so it's not a good choice. So I'm going to switch now. A good chance to see the themes in action. And I'll go back to my 2017 theme just for this little demo. And so widgets are extra things you can add to your site. quite often they're in the footer, and they're often in the sidebar of your site. So I'm going to go into here and get to my widgets. That theme I showed you is really simple, so it doesn't have widgets. And so there are widget areas. So the blog sidebar in this one, this is going to show up on all blog posts of what's in my site. And so WordPress comes with some widgets, and you just kind of drag them and drop them in here. And so archives, this will show a listing of my blog posts by month. And so I could call it, if I don't put a title, just be called archives. I like to title mine old stuff, and I'll show post counts. The display as drop down never seems to work. And so there are other kinds of things you can add here. You can add just an image to your sidebar. And so I could put this. And so I'm going to add an image, and you can upload, or I'll just pick my flower image. And this will add the image, and you can even make it link to something. So I can make it go to make it some random blog out there. And so you can add an image to a sidebar. There's a lot of other things you can do. So a list of all your pages. I don't really have any. A tag cloud. The text one, and there's the other way to add images because I'm way down the page. I'm going to add it to my blog sidebar. The text one is really handy because I can write anything I want here. It's a little mini editor. What was camp? And I'll say what I did. Oh, here we go. Let's just have a play. Last summer at domain camp. What movie that is from. And so you can add things in here. And so you can, it's a mini composition window. So you got basic formatting, actually not very much. And I can add a link to domain camp. Let's see how well I remember my own domains. This one's kind of long, folks. eCampus Ontario.ca/camp. And so I'm adding this link. You know, feature I keep forgetting, you know, when you get the little link in your editor, let's say you wanted to link to summer and you pull up the link here. You actually have the ability to search, and this will find all pages and posts on your site. So if I did camp, let's see if anything comes up. Yeah, so this pulls up a blog post where I call it a live demo from camp. So that's a really handy thing as you're trying to do some links within your blog. It only searches within your blog. It's not doing a Google search or anything like that. Always have to save my widgets. Now when I go to my site, I come here, and these are going to show up, well, right here. So these are my posts. So, or if I went into any one of my themes, of my posts, you see I get this old stuff archive. Shows I did one blog post in August. I did 2 in July. Here is the picture that I loaded. It must have picked up the caption on it, and it has a link to Cogdog blog. And then it has this little text thing I add. And so the great thing about these widgets is you can try a lot of them. You can change the order of them just by dragging them around. And so you can get very flexible with these widgets. Now this theme has 2 widget areas. It also has ones in the footer. So this is at the bottom of the page. So here I might want to put things like recent post. So I'm going to add this to footer 1, and I'm going to add that widget. And so recently blogged. I can, if I only want 4, show the post date. This will show always my 4 latest blog posts at the top. Sometimes you might want to put things, you can put a tag cloud if you're using tags on your blog. You can put, how about, let's try, you can do a navigation menu, which I may not do. Custom HTML. I could do, yeah, I can put a category archive. So you can put a lot of things in your blog. Let me just, recent comments, and I'll add this one to the second footer. I don't think I have any comments. And I'll say, what people are saying. There's another widget. So, I mean, widgets are exactly what they say. They're just little bits of content that you can add to your blog. And we come out here, and these are now going to show up way down at the bottom. So it's got these things. You know, it's kind of, you know, this is not a bad theme. So this kind of creates a little, you know, dynamic area on your blog that you can add things. And so the other thing is that those are the widgets that WordPress comes with. Sometimes themes come with a few extra widgets, but, you know, this is where last week, and you were all around last week, there's a lot of widgets that you can add by plugin. So you can do things that are not in plugin. So I'm going to add a new plugin, and I might just search for a widget. And so this gives you like all kinds of things that you can do to add other functionality to your WordPress. So there's recent post widget with thumbnails. So if you don't want the text, but you want something with a widget, there are so many widgets that this too can make you dizzy. So the last thing you're gonna do is kind of browse the widget. But if you know, if you're looking for something specific, so, you know, if I was looking for something to put, and I'm cheating because I see it in there, if I want to put an Instagram thing on the sidebar, I might look for instant widget. And so picking them, you know, is one of the things. So you kind of want to look, you know, this one has 600,000 active installations. It's been rated 5 stars a lot. It's been updated very recently. So those are all good signs. As you scroll down, you're going to get things which are maybe a little more fringy. So you just got to try these things out. And so there's like more widgets than stars in the sky. But if I want to just do this one, I'm going to install this widget. It's a plugin actually. And I'm going to activate it. And so that's going to be on here. So now when I come over to my widgets now, there will be now a thing to add an Instagram widget to my sidebar. And so here is a way that you can add an Instagram widget. And all you need is a username. So I'm going to try my dog's Instagram account. You can pick the number of photos, the large sliders, the links, and the link text. I'll say bark at me. And again, I'm doing this demo on the fly. I've never really used this widget, but I'm going to come over here. And so, I mean, again, widgets really change a lot of things that you can do on your site. So look, I've got Felix's 9 most recent photos here. And so each one links, and I might go back. 9 is a little bit excessive, Felix. But it's a way to have other sites continually feed content into your site. And so that's one thing that you can do with your widgets. How are we doing here? I should check and see if people are, if anybody's still out there. Nope, nobody's out there. Let's go back and just check. I lost my 1 viewer, so bye-bye. Nice knowing you. Just kidding. It's not about the viewers. So the last thing we'll do is, and this one's a little complicated, but you will know from the front of the domains of our own site, and for people who've been participating in this, all the stuff at the top is our stuff about the project. We've got this thing from the Ontario Extend Network. And so we're using this concept of syndicating content in from other people's blogs. And so we have about 50, 60 Ontario Extend bloggers who are writing stuff and pushing it to the site. So Mel has been blogging a lot here, Mel Young. But as you come down here, you can see, like, here's a blog post from Nurse Killian. Here's something from our chief of the camp and everything, David Porter. So what we're doing is we're bringing in references to people who are blogging as part of our project. You can do this in a class. So if you want to do a class where you want your students to blog, they can do their work in their own blog, but you can pool all their posts into your WordPress site using a special plugin, and that's what we're going to talk about. So this one, it's a little complicated. I wrote up this series of posts in 2014 for a workshop, but I just updated it for this to make sure there's new examples and some more explanations. So it's called Building Connected Courses, Feed WordPress 101. It's 101 because it's about this plugin called Feed WordPress. And so what it shows here are all some different websites that I have built or participated in building that use this approach. And so you can actually see a lot of the sites, and then we talk about this. So what this activity does is basically send you to the instructions I already wrote to help you get started with doing this. And this is in the activity bank, building a WordPress syndication hub, mention some of the, reiterate some of the examples that I've done, and then another longer list of ones that other people have done using this same approach. So there are a lot of parts to this, and it may look overly complex, but a lot of people have been able to do this pretty simply off of these instructions. So I'm going to go back into my what I did at summer camp thing and see if I can quickly do a Feed WordPress thing. I'm going to go back to Hitchcock because it's going to work well. And that's one of the things about the theme is, like, when you start this, I would say stay with the 2017 theme and just get the syndication parts built, and then try to figure out how to blog it. What the plugin does, it's called Feed WordPress, is it allows you to give it a bunch of sites that you want to syndicate from. And what it does is there's a thing with sites that are hosted in WordPress and Blogger, Medium, Tumblr, a couple other places that publish what's known as an RSS feed. And this basically says if Jane over here and Bob over here are doing their own blogging, whenever they publish a new post, this RSS feed is just data, and it just basically includes the latest content from the post. So when you set up Feed WordPress and you tell it to check Jane's blog and Bob's blog, it goes there once an hour, knocks on the door, and it says, "Hey, Bob, you got any new post?" And his blog says, "Nope." And then you say, "Okay, then we go to Jane's blog. Jane, do you have any new posts?" And she's like, "Yes, I've got 3. And then what we say is, okay, we're going to grab the title, and we're going to grab the content of your post, and we're going to put a copy over on our website, and then make it so when anybody clicks the link on your site, it goes back to your site." So that's the syndication part. There's a couple things that you do when you set this up. And so this is covered in my overview. Right now, it's only going to do that going around and knocking on everybody's blog when I tell it to. Once you get to the point where you're ready to do it on a regular schedule, just change this setting to automatically check for updates after pages load, which means that your site will automatically go out and check sites. Pretty much the rest of these settings are okay. Post and links, there's some more settings here. This tells it to publish right away, but you can say, I really want to have my students come in as pending and draft, and I want to approve all of them, etc. The links can actually go out to the original website, or since we're making a copy here on our site, we can sort of keep people on our site. The rest of this is pretty typical. You can actually give some credit. This is built into the plugin now. You can actually sort of, when a site comes in, it just looks like a post on your blog, but this is a way to sort of add something to each syndicated blog post where it says, this blog was originally hosted on Bob's Barn, and link to it. So it's a way of making sure that you give credit. One of the important things is setting up sort of a category structure for your syndication. This probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense at first, but when you set up your blogs, generally you want to use your categories, and I hate uncategorized, so I'm going to call this news. Well, the first things I always do on a new blog post. And so I might have some categories that I am posting myself, camp activities. And so I'm just going to add, these are sort of the posts that are going to be ones that I write specifically on my blog that are part of my organizational structure. But I might want to set up one for all my syndicators, syndicated blogs. So I'm going to call it campers. Or more likely you'd call it like network. How about that? And this is going to represent all the posts that come from people that you're syndicating in. Now, generally, that might be all you need. If you're doing one class, maybe it's the name of your class, and you could have all the posts come in and they'll be organized within that category. But you can do some categories. So I can do section 3, and I can do section 5. And so you can actually segment the way posts are organized into this network. And the thing I forgot to do on each of these is I want to make these a child of the network category. So what happens is, and this is a little bit arcane, let me do section 5. I can't do a quick edit. I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to say this is a child of the network. And so when they come back, see, I now have like an outline structure. So 20 students in section 3, 24 students in section 5, their syndicated posts come in, they're organized in there. But if I have them as a child category, when I go to network, I'm going to automatically see every post that's in the subcategories. So setting up the category structure ahead of time is something that I advise in the beginning. Now here's the tricky thing. When you syndicate stuff in, people might be using categories and tags like on a WordPress site. In Blogger, they're called labels, and Tumblr, they're called something else, but they're considered to work like tags and categories. And here's it's a little bit subtle, and you're probably not going to understand it. When I syndicate stuff in, I don't want them to get mixed in with the categories I'm creating, like news and activities. And so if there's something that's a WordPress category, I'm going to convert it to a tag. And when if I don't have an existing one, I want to convert everything that comes in. I don't know what formats are, but I'll just uncheck them. Tags, if there's a tag in the syndicated post, I want that to go in the tags, which is fine. And so what this means is that everything that comes in, if there's tags or categories as a syndicated post, they're just going to be tags. And this kind of keeps what categories and tags or what categories people use in their blogs from kind of polluting your own blog structure. The other thing you can do is say, I'm going to add network category to all the posts that come in, which means that automatically any syndicated post is going to be put in that network group, which is a good practice. And I might add another new tag, and I'll call it syndicated. So all syndicated posts will be tagged as syndicated. And basically, these are some of the setup pieces that I do. But the real activity comes in. We're going to add a website or a feed to this. Now, this can get tricky. I'm going to say I want everything from Ontario Extend. Let's see what happens if I just copy the URL. So I want to get everything from this category. Generally, in a class, you'll be asking your students to submit their blog. And so I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to add this feed. And what Feed WordPress is going to do, it's going to think a little bit. It's looking at some information. It gives me, there's a couple different feeds that are on this site. Generally, the first one is going to be probably the best one to use. The second one is for comments. So I'm going to use this feed, and it comes in. And basically, that means I will start syndicating it on the next round. There is a thing I will do, though, and this is because I'm doing this category structure, is that everything that comes in for a category is being added site-wide to network, but they're in section 3. So I'm going to make sure that everything from that blog also gets added to section 3. And so, that is, one thing that you can do. And there's a whole complexity to getting feeds. You can get feeds from a blog just from the blog's categories or from a tag. You can get feeds from a lot of things. The simplest thing is just getting, the feed from everything on a single blog. And I will just, let's just add one more just to show how this works. And I'm going to do this crazy cogdogblog.com. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to go in. I'm going to get everything from my, I think I have a WordPress category. And the thing about feeds is you actually have to add the full feed address. This feed WordPress can't actually find. And so I got this one wrong, so I got to change the feed. So I didn't want category WordPress. Let's just try this one. So I messed up. Let's see if this works. And still not getting anything from here. Oh, what a crappy demo. Let's just see. I know I have a category called WordPress. Here it is. See, I named my category wrong. You got to know your category. I named my category WP. Spelling counts here. So one more time here, I'm going to change the feed. And I'm going to make sure it's, the thing about WordPress is if you got a category or a tag URL, you slap /feed on the end. That gives you the RSS feed. So it's giving me a preview. That's my most recent item, and that's good. So I'm going to use this feed. And then I showed you before how you change that setting. I'm going to go right into categories, and I'm going to say this person goes into section 5 in the mix here. So all I'm doing now are setting up this. I'm syndicating 2 different feeds in to my site. People do this with classes of 30, 40, 50 students. We have like 60 in Ontario Extend. DS 106 has about 1,200 feeds. So this stuff scales. And then for right now, I'm not automatically updating. So I'm just going to manually update this. And this is going to go to those sites. And it's going to bringing in posts from all these sites. And so now when I go, no idea what's going to happen here. But we can see that this is bringing in, actually, because the Extend site is syndicating things in, I'm getting the feeds for here. And so, but if I went to the links for these, I can see here's my ones coming in from Cogdog Blog. And if I click the link, it goes out to the site where the stuff comes from. And that's what's really good about a blog post. Last thing I will do is just to reinforce the idea of the way I set up those categories. I can go to my menus, and I'm going to pull up my categories, and I want to put a category structure for all my syndicated posts. So now on my site, I'll be able to have a single URL that comes in to show everything that's been syndicated, that's in the network tag, or everything from section 5. And so these are all my sites coming in. And you can see there's no images here. This comes into a tricky thing called featured images. I explain how to add another plugin that will take care of pulling images from all of these posts and making them featured images on the site. But I'm already like gabbing way too long here and went too far. But the syndication thing, it's a really powerful thing to take on. But it takes, I've seen people do it in a couple days. Other people, it takes a little bit longer to fiddle around. Wonky things can happen with feeds. Sometimes they just break on you. Sometimes you get error messages. Quite often people don't know what their feeds are, so you got to get good at sort of finding and checking feeds. But if you ever run through this with a site, maybe do it as a test site. It's not only for classes. I do a thing on my own site, on my CogDog blog site, since I do have some blogs on other sites. I actually syndicate in stuff I write on other people's sites, so I have a copy within my own site. There's lots of ways that you perhaps can brainstorm what you can do by being able to pull in references. It basically turns your site almost into, it could be an RSS reader if you want to think that way, of bringing in content from other sites to sort of one place to act as that kind of hub thing. And that's what we're doing on the Ontario Extend site. So these are some big tasks. Picking themes is a never-ending battle, although people may say, oh, it's easy to pick themes. Some people really go, if there's a lot of commercial themes, you can spend $30, you can spend $100 on some themes. Quite often those premium things are way complex. There's a billion settings and they try to do everything. They're a giant kitchen sink. But there are use cases where it's best to really use a custom design or premium theme that someone sells as opposed to the freebie. So your mileage may vary. This is my last week so far working for Domain Camp, and so thanks for sticking around. And again, this week we'll have open office hours tomorrow at what time? 3 Eastern, and then if you want, you can contact me, and we can sort of do put your blog up on the lift in the garage and check the oil and make sure the spark plugs are working. And so that's Domain Camp for this week, and I'm out of here. See ya.